Your stories don't define you, but how you tell them will. Hi, I'm Sarah Elkins, your host and chief storymaker at Elkins Consulting. After more than 430 episodes of this podcast, I was recently inspired to change the format. The new format for my show aligns with what I'm learning about narrative identity, how the stories we tell about ourselves internally and externally influence our identity. By taking an individual story and diving more deeply into it to pull some threads. My hope is that future episodes will offer more clarity about what great storytelling can look like and how to find and explore your pivotal moments to demonstrate who you are. My future guests will be given a story prompt ahead of our call, and instead of a long, organic, multi-insight conversation, we'll dive more deeply into a single story, pulling a thread and revealing a primary insight about the experience, and hopefully leaving space for you, our listener, to remind you of your own related experience and maybe pull your thread that has the potential to guide you in deeper self-reflection. I'll be eager to hear your thoughts about this new format, so please don't hesitate to send me a message via social media or email. For the past few episodes, I shared pivotal moments in my life that, when I look back, are pretty obvious and somewhat dramatic in the telling of them. Those stories absolutely have their time and place for sharing. But I've noticed that sometimes our quieter, meaningful stories are often underestimated or forgotten. I had one of those moments a few days ago when I performed as a backup vocalist and played my flute with a friend and super talented singer-songwriter at a local bar to a crowd of enthusiastic fans. We were out back on the patio and had been playing for about an hour to a smaller group, but for the second hour of our performance, the crowd grew, and we pulled out our faster, more danceable tunes. My friend called out the name of the last song for the night, and it was one I didn't really know. She counted off for the band to begin, and I couldn't hear vocal harmonies right away, so I started improvising on my flute instead. Though I had played on songs in the earlier set, the people who arrived later hadn't heard me yet. A handful of them absolutely lit up when I started to play. Their enthusiasm was so contagious that it pulled our band's energy into an expansion with the crowd's response. I've been performing in bands for more than 15 years as a vocalist, but performing on my flute for an audience is still pretty new to me. I picked it up back in 2020 after more than 30 years of not playing it. I bought a beginner's band book and played through that book 3 or 4 times to remember the fingering and the way my mouth had to be. It's called an embouchure, the position of my lips to be able to push the air through the flute to get the notes. In 2022, I felt confident enough to perform a song with our band. I had sheet music in front of me and was so excited to play the theme song to the Pink Panther, which is something that I wanted to play for years. A few months later, I started practicing improvising on the flute, something I'd never done before, on an instrumental surf-style piece that my husband, who plays guitar with our band, had composed. The crowd's reaction to my flute made me realize how proud I am of my progress and how grateful I am for the talented musicians who have trusted and encouraged me to be brave and get on stage and play it. Now, this story may not seem like a quieter, meaningful story to you, but to me it was, because I've been performing for years, and at that time on the stage, I was just enjoying the moment. I wasn't aware of how meaningful it was until a few days later, when I started to think about how far I've come as a musician and performer. When I look at that evening from the point of an observer, for that last 4 or 5 minute song, I can see and appreciate the incremental progress it took to get there. The audience doesn't have that perspective. All they see is the confidence, competence, and fun that I project from the stage. And it's an important reminder that there's no such thing as an overnight success. This experience, this aha moment, applies not just to my work as a musician. It also applies to my journey as a speaker and communication coach. I can look back and objectively say I did a really good job with my keynote presentations, my workshops, and my coaching. I have long-term clients and thank you notes as evidence of that. But I can see my progress over the past 5 years. I know I'm significantly better than I was 5 years ago. And even more importantly, I can imagine that in another 5 years, I'll be even more competent in my work. Because I know I'm not done yet. I still have so much to learn, to practice, and to grow into. Listeners, now it's your turn. Did a memory pop into your head when you heard my story? Will you write down a note so you can share it when an opportunity presents itself? From previous episodes, you probably have specific images of who I am. Did today's story shift those images at all? Did my story fill in some gaps? The stories we share say a lot about who we are. What's one story you can share to demonstrate one of your talents? Thanks for listening to Your Stories Don't Define You, How You Tell Them Will. If you're curious to learn about working with me, please visit my website, elkinsconsulting.com, and schedule time to chat. You can also sign up for periodic updates about my work, and from there, easily connect with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. In my content, you'll hear about Gallup's StrengthsFinder tool, storytelling, and public speaking.
That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.